Ladies and gentlemen, there are moments in our lives when dawn itself taps us on the shoulder. When the world still sleeps, yet you awaken between 3 and 5 a.m., not by accident, not by routine, but by a whisper from the divine. In those quiet hours, God calls your soul to attention. He reminds you that you are more than your fears, more than your struggles, more than the noise of daylight. You are being summoned to listen, to reflect, and to rise into the fullness of who you were created to be. When the night breaks and your eyes open early, understand heaven is speaking, and your spirit is finally ready to hear. The 3-5 a.m. awakening is a spiritual call, not a coincidence. When a person rises from sleep in those quiet, shadowed hours, long before the sun has considered lifting its head, something deeper than routine is at work. These are not the hours of alarm clocks, schedules, or responsibilities. These are the hours when the world is still, when the noise has not yet begun, and when the veil between your soul and the divine thins, so thin that even the faintest whisper from heaven can reach you. Many believe they simply wake by chance, by restlessness, or by habit, yet if they pause and place a hand over their heart, they would feel that something sacred is stirring, because God does not shout in the middle of chaos. He speaks in the quiet. He speaks in the stillness, when there is nothing louder than the rhythm of your breath and the truth inside your chest trying to rise. To awaken between 3 and 5 a.m. is to step into a moment when the spiritual world is open, alive, humming with messages that daylight often drowns. It is in this window that your spirit is most alert, your intuition most awake, and your thoughts closest to their original purity. There is a reason ancient traditions, prophets, poets, and seekers through history have risen in these hours. They understood that something is trying to reach you before the world distracts you, before the demands of life bury the words you need to hear. When you wake before dawn, you are being invited to notice what you have ignored, to feel what you've pushed away, to see what your busy days have kept in shadow. Sometimes that divine call comes because your purpose is shifting. You may not see it yet, but the path beneath your feet is turning in a new direction. Your spirit senses the turning before your eyes do, and it tries to prepare you. A shift in your life, a new chapter, a new assignment, a new strength. All of these begin in silence, not noise. And so you wake, not because something is wrong, but because something is ready. Your soul rises early because it knows you have outgrown old fears, old patterns, old wounds. The divine nudges you awake because you are being asked to step into something larger, something you once prayed for but didn't know how to receive. In the darkness of early morning, you may find your thoughts clearer than usual. You may replay moments you wish had gone differently. You may feel a tug of emotion you can't name. You may experience a restlessness that is not physical but spiritual. This restlessness is not a disturbance, it is a calling. Deep within you is trying to be acknowledged. The questions you have avoided begin to rise. The dreams you have delayed return to the front of your mind. The healing you have postponed knocks on the door of your awareness. And the divine, gentle yet unyielding, invites you to listen. At 3 to 5 a.m., the world is dark, but your inner world is illuminated. Old hurts that never fully healed approach you not to torment you, but to release you. Regrets speak not to shame you, but to guide you toward wisdom. And hopes that you buried under fear rise like small flames, reminding you that they still breathe. You wake because your spirit is trying to lead you toward transformation. These hours are sacred because they contain truth. They contain clarity. They contain the voice you ignore when the world is loud. It is during these early moments that intuition becomes loud enough to be heard. You may suddenly recall a decision you need to make, a person you need to forgive, a direction you need to take. You may feel clarity about something that confused you for weeks. This clarity is not accidental. It is the divine rearranging your thoughts, aligning your heart, and preparing your steps. You were not meant to sleep through this alignment. You were meant to awaken and witness it. Sometimes the reason you wake is because God is nudging you away from a path that is no longer meant for you. Perhaps you are trying to force something that is hurting you. Perhaps you are holding on to someone who has already let go. Perhaps you are settling for less than your worth. In the stillness of early morning, the truth becomes impossible to hide. The universe whispers, "My child, there is more for you." And because the noise of daylight cannot yet reach you, you can finally hear what your soul has been saying for far too long. And then there are times when you wake not because something is wrong, but because something beautiful is coming, a blessing, a breakthrough, an answered prayer. Before blessings arrive, the spirit is often stirred. It wakes you early so you can prepare your mind for what your life is about to receive. You may feel anticipation, a strange peace, or a quiet joy that has no explanation. This is not coincidence. This is preparation. You are being awakened to make room, to strengthen your faith, to release what no longer belongs so that what is meant for you can enter without obstruction. Between 3 and 5 a.m., you may feel a connection to something greater than yourself, to the rhythm of the earth, to the beating of your own heart, to the presence of angels watching over you, to the whisper of God assuring you that you are not alone. In these hours, prayers feel more honest, tears feel more cleansing, and gratitude comes naturally. You may feel the urge to speak to God or simply sit quietly and let Him speak to you. That conversation, silent or spoken, is the reason you woke. Divine communication does not always come in grand signs. Sometimes it is a small awakening at a sacred hour. When you rise at that time, the spiritual world is offering you insight. It may be showing you what needs to change. It may be guiding you toward people who will uplift you. It may be pulling you away from something harmful. It may be revealing the strength you forgot you had. The divine does not waste your time. If you wake repeatedly at this hour, it is because something in your life needs attention, understanding, or transformation. Your soul is asking to be heard, and heaven is giving you the space to listen. You may find yourself remembering dreams that felt unusually vivid. You may wake with words forming in your mind, words of guidance, courage, or warning. You may feel an energy surrounding you, something gentle yet purposeful. These experiences are not random. They are spiritual signals. They are divine nudges encouraging you to pay attention to the direction of your life. Because the truth is, many of us live days filled with noise, distraction, and rushed decisions. But the Spirit cannot compete with noise. It speaks in stillness. That is why you are awakened when silence is deepest. The hours between 3 and 5 a.m. are often associated with spiritual sensitivity, intuition, and awakening. Many cultures call it the hour of the soul, the angelic hour, or the time of alignment. It is a moment when divine energy moves freely, when your heart is softer and your mind is unguarded. You are more receptive. You are more open. You are more willing to hear what you would resist during the day. And so the divine chooses this moment to reach you because you are finally quiet enough to listen. When you rise at this time, emotions that have been buried may rise with you. This is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of healing. The things you have been too busy to feel now ask for your attention. Your heartbreak, your disappointments, your unanswered questions, all stand before you in the dim light of dawn, not to bring sorrow, but to bring release. Healing happens in silence before it shows in daylight. And so you wake early because healing has begun. You may not fully understand why you wake at this hour, but your soul understands. It recognizes the call. It feels the presence. It knows that something is unfolding. The divine wakes you early because you are ready for more truth, more clarity, more strength, more purpose. You may feel tired in body, but your spirit is anything but tired. Your spirit is awake. It is alive. It is listening. Silence at dawn carries messages your busy mind cannot hear. There is a reason the early morning feels different from all other hours. A reason the air seems softer, the world seems hushed, and even your own thoughts sound clearer. When the darkness has not yet fully lifted, and the sun has not yet claimed the sky, something sacred rests in the quiet. It is a silence that does not demand, that does not hurry, that does not pretend. A silence that asks nothing of you except that you be present long enough to listen. In these still moments, there is a language beyond words, a rhythm beyond sound, and a knowing deeper than thought. It is the divine speaking in the oldest tongue of creation, silence. Throughout the day, your mind becomes crowded. Responsibilities rise like waves, opinions flood in, noise fills every corner, and the world pulls you in 100 different directions. You move quickly, you respond quickly, you think quickly, and in all that speed, the soul can barely whisper. The truth cannot breathe where noise is constant. Wisdom cannot land where distractions never rest. Clarity cannot awaken where the mind is running instead of listening. And so the divine chooses dawn. It chooses silence. It chooses the moment when everything earthly is sleeping so that your spirit can finally awaken. Silence at dawn is not empty, it is full. Full of answers you asked for long ago. Full of direction for the path you fear to take. Full of reminders of your worth, your strength, your assignment in this world. That quiet is not accidental. It is intentional. It is a space created by God for your soul to hear what it could not hear in the noise of daylight. The world sleeps, but heaven is awake. Angels move. Purpose stirs, truth rises, and in those soft early hours, your spirit becomes sensitive enough to recognize the messages life has been trying to reveal. There are thoughts that only visit you in the morning, ideas that bloom when the world is still, insights that come like gentle waves, touching your mind with clarity you did not know you were capable of. Such moments are not coincidences, they are gifts. They are spiritual awakenings disguised as thoughts. They arrive in silence because silence is the only environment in which they can survive. Throughout the day, your mind is trained to focus outward, on tasks, on people, on worries, on expectations. But dawn pulls your focus inward. It brings you face to face with yourself. It brings you face to face with God. There is no noise between you. No distractions, no masks, just truth. Often when you wake early, your mind begins to wander through memories, questions, hopes, or unresolved emotions. This wandering is not random. It is your soul sorting through what your conscious mind has been too busy to address. Silence gives space for emotional truths to rise. Truths you have ignored, truths you have postponed, truths you have carried for too long. In the quiet of dawn, those truths speak gently, not to burden you, but to free you. They tell you what needs healing. They reveal what needs release. They uncover what needs forgiveness. And they show you what needs to change so that you may rise into the life you are meant to live. The silence also reveals things about your dreams. Not the dreams you experience in sleep, but the dreams your heart has carried for years. The ones you placed on the back shelf while life demanded more urgent attention. In the quiet, those dreams whisper. They remind you they are still alive. They remind you that you were not foolish for wanting more, that you were not unrealistic for believing you had a purpose. Dawn has a way of bringing forgotten dreams to the surface because the divine wants to show you what you were created for. Your spirit remembers even when your mind tries to forget. In that stillness, you may feel a guidance that doesn't come from logic. You may feel a pull in a direction you cannot explain. You may feel a certainty about something that once caused confusion. Intuition becomes a teacher at dawn. It becomes louder, clearer, more confident. This intuition is not guessing, not wishing, not imagining. It is spiritual intelligence. It is divine awareness speaking through you. And dawn is when it speaks the strongest, because nothing else is competing for your attention. You may have noticed how answers arrive more easily in the morning. Solutions that evaded you the day before suddenly appear. Problems that felt heavy suddenly feel manageable. Questions you carried for months suddenly feel clearer. This is because silence opens the mind. It removes clutter. It releases tension. It slows the mind down to a speed where wisdom can finally catch up. You are not overthinking, you are listening. And that listening is what invites revelation. Some mornings, the silence feels emotional. You may cry without knowing why. You may feel a softness in your chest, a loosening of something you have held too tight. This is the soul releasing what the heart can no longer carry. The quiet gives you permission to feel. It gives old pain room to rise so it can be let go. Tears at dawn are often tears of recognition. Recognition of what hurt you, recognition of what healed you, recognition of what you survived. You are not breaking, you are opening. You are not weak, you are cleansing. In the early morning silence, you may also sense a presence, not frightening, but comforting. A warmth, a reassurance, a gentle awareness that you are not alone. Many feel closest to God in these hours, not because God is more present, but because you are more present. You are not distracted. You are not rushing. You are not divided between 1,000 thoughts. You are simply here. And in that presence, you can feel the divine guiding you, reassuring you, strengthening you. The silence is not empty. It is filled with God's breath. You may find yourself asking questions in this silence, questions about your purpose, your relationships, your struggles, your next steps. You may also find that the answers do not shout, they unfold. They come in the form of peace around one decision and discomfort around another. They come in the form of a feeling you cannot shake or a thought you cannot ignore. Dawn silence teaches you to trust these signals. It teaches you that not all truth is spoken aloud, some truth is felt. Throughout history, spiritual leaders, wise souls, poets, and mystics have turned to the early morning for wisdom. They understood something powerful, that silence reveals what noise hides. They knew that the early hours are not merely a time of day, but a doorway into deeper understanding. When the world is asleep, the soul speaks freely. When the mind is quiet, the heart speaks honestly. And when the environment is still, the spirit speaks boldly. Consider how the sunlight rises slowly, not suddenly. It does not burst into the sky with noise. It comes gently, softly, with grace. The divine speaks the same way. It rarely shouts, it rarely forces, it whispers in the quiet and waits for you to notice. This is why dawn is sacred. It mirrors the nature of divine communication, soft, steady, patient, and full of light. Sometimes the message that silence carries is not a command, but a reminder. A reminder that you have survived every moment you believed would break you. A reminder that you are stronger now than you were then. A reminder that you are still capable of beauty, growth, compassion, love, forgiveness, and faith. A reminder that your story is not over, that your journey is still unfolding, and that the divine is walking beside you even when you forget to look. Dawn's silence is like a gentle hand on your shoulder, guiding you back to yourself. Other times, the silence reveals what is draining your energy. It exposes the things, people, habits, or fears that are quietly stealing your strength. It shows you what you need to release, not out of anger, but out of protection for your peace. Silence tells the truth about what your spirit can no longer carry. And once you know the truth, you cannot return to ignorance. The divine wakes you early so you can see clearly what your daytime self refuses to confront. In the early morning quiet, you may feel an urge to create, to write, to pray, to breathe deeply, to sit in stillness. or simply to be. That urge is the soul stretching. It is your spirit reconnecting with its own depth. These urges are messages themselves, pointing you toward things that nourish your inner life. Creativity, reflection, prayer, gratitude. These are not luxuries. They are spiritual nutrition. Dawn gives you the appetite to seek them. There are also mornings when silence brings courage. Courage to face the truth. Courage to change something in your life. Courage to leave behind what has become too small for the person you are becoming. Courage to take a step you feared. Courage to rise in your purpose. Courage to trust God even when you do not understand the path. Dawn whispers bravery into your bones. It places strength where fear once lived. And some mornings, silence brings gratitude. Not the loud gratitude spoken aloud, but the quiet gratitude felt deep within the chest. Gratitude for breath. Gratitude for life. Gratitude for another chance. Gratitude for the moments that shaped you, even the painful ones. Gratitude for the people who love you. Gratitude for the wisdom that only experience can give. This kind of gratitude reshapes your heart. It softens you, opens you, expands you, and gratitude received in silence becomes strength carried into the day. Through all of this, Dawn remains a teacher, a patient, gentle teacher that arrives every day asking nothing but your attention. It offers clarity before the world complicates things. It offers peace before the world demands your energy. It offers truth before the world distracts you. What you hear in silence is often the message you needed all along, the message your soul has been waiting to give you, the message God has been waiting for you to receive. God uses the early hours to strengthen clarity, courage, and purpose. Long before the first bird sings or the first light spills across the sky, there is a sacred stirring that moves through the world, a stirring gentle enough to calm your spirit, yet powerful enough to awaken your destiny. When you rise between 3 and 5 a.m., you are rising into a moment chosen not by chance but by design, a moment created so that God may shape your inner world before the outer world demands anything of you. In this time of stillness, when nothing competes for your attention, the divine begins his quiet work within you. He begins clarifying the things you have questioned, strengthening the things you have feared, and preparing you for the things you are meant to step into. Clarity is a gift that rarely arrives in noise. The mind becomes cluttered with responsibilities, opinions, worries, and memories as the day progresses. But in the early hours, the dust settles. Your inner world becomes like still water, reflecting truth without distortion. It is in these moments that God places understanding into your heart. He brings insight to the decisions you've avoided. He brings awareness to the relationships you've outgrown. He brings recognition to the opportunities you are meant to pursue and the distractions you must release. This kind of clarity does not shout. It arrives as a gentle knowing. A knowing that feels natural, peaceful, steady, and sure. Sometimes clarity comes in the form of a realization you have resisted. You may suddenly see the patterns in your life with honesty, the habits that hold you back, the excuses you repeat, the fears that keep you silent. God reveals these things not to shame you, but to free you. The early hours are a mirror showing you not only who you are, but who you can be. In that mirror, he reveals your strength, your gifts, your potential, and your purpose. The clarity he gives is not intellectual, it is spiritual. It sinks into the heart before it reaches the mind. And then there is courage. Courage is not always loud. It does not always arrive in roars or boldness. Sometimes courage comes as a quiet shift in your spirit, a strengthening of your backbone, a steadiness in your breath, a soft but unwavering voice inside saying, "You can do this. God uses the early hours to pour courage into you because courage poured into silence lasts longer than courage made in noise. In silence, it roots itself. It settles deep. It becomes part of your foundation. There are battles you face that require more courage than you currently possess. Moments that demand strength you do not yet feel. Conversations that require honesty you are afraid to give. Changes that require bravery you have been postponing. And so God wakes you early. He strengthens your spirit before the world meets you. He places courage inside you before fear has a chance to rise. In these hours, you may feel a sudden resolve or a sudden peace about something difficult. That is courage unfolding. It may feel soft, but it is powerful. It may feel quiet, but it is unmoving. Courage also comes in recognizing what is no longer meant for you. Sometimes God gives you the strength to walk away, not out of anger, but out of wisdom. The early hours give you perspective. They show you the difference between what feels familiar and what is truly meant for your growth. They show you the difference between comfort and calling. And though letting go is hard, God places courage in your spirit so that you can release what no longer aligns with your purpose. Purpose, too, becomes clearer at dawn. Purpose is not always a grand calling or a dramatic assignment. Sometimes purpose is simple. To be light in dark places, to be compassion where there is pain, to be truth where there is confusion, to be strength where there is weakness. God reveals pieces of your purpose, not in loud moments, but in quiet ones. He speaks to your heart with an instruction, a nudge, an idea, a desire to grow, a pull towards something that feels strangely familiar, as if your soul has known the path long before your mind recognized it. Purpose does not arrive all at once. It unfolds slowly, like the first light of dawn across the horizon. In the early hours, God reveals the next step, not the entire journey. He shows you enough to move, enough to trust, enough to believe. You may awaken with a sense of direction you did not have before. You may feel drawn to create something, change something, pursue something, or become something. This is not random. It is divine alignment. Your spirit is receiving instructions for the next chapter of your life. Often, purpose is strengthened by preparing your heart. God uses these hours to heal old wounds that would weaken your steps. He stirs memories you need to release. He brings forgiveness where resentment has lingered. He softens your heart where life has hardened it. He reminds you of who you are beyond your mistakes, your past, your fears, your failures. Purpose cannot thrive in a heart weighed down by old pain. And so in the early hours, God lifts what is heavy. He washes away the emotional weight you were never meant to carry. He creates space within you. Space for inspiration, space for faith, space for strength. There are times when God uses the early morning to remind you of the prayers you once spoke with hope, the dreams you carried, the promises He whispered to you in moments of faith. In the silence, those forgotten promises rise again, and for a moment you feel the fire of your purpose return. You may feel a stirring that says it is not too late. You may feel a reminder that says, I have not forgotten. These moments are divine. They strengthen your purpose by renewing your belief in it. Sometimes the purpose God strengthens is not about what you will do, but who you will become. He shapes your character in the stillness. He teaches patience when your heart wants speed. He teaches resilience when your spirit feels tired. He teaches humility when the world pushes pride. He teaches compassion when life has bruised you. These teachings are not loud lessons. They are quiet shifts in the soul. You wake up different without knowing exactly when the change happened. That is God preparing you for the purpose you're meant to live. In the early hours, you also become more sensitive to the subtle movements of your spirit. You can feel when something aligns. You can feel when something feels wrong. You can sense a yes in your heart or a no in your chest. These impressions are not imagination, they are divine signals. God heightens your spiritual sensitivity so that you can recognize opportunities that belong to you and doors that were never meant to open. You begin to understand that not everything that shines is meant for you, and not everything that ends is a loss. Silence teaches you this wisdom. God strengthens you with discernment so that your purpose is protected. Clarity, courage, and purpose are woven together in the early morning. One leads to the other. With clarity you see. With courage you act. With purpose you rise. Without clarity, purpose becomes confused. Without courage, purpose becomes delayed. Without purpose, courage becomes directionless. So God aligns all three within you before the world can pull you apart. These early hours are sacred because they shape your inner world before your outer world can influence it. As you sit or lie awake during that time, you may feel a strange peace. Not because everything in your life makes sense, but because God is strengthening something inside you. A confidence that doesn't depend on circumstances. A faith that doesn't waver with emotion. A determination that persists even in uncertainty. These are spiritual qualities, not earthly ones. They cannot be built in noise. They cannot be built in chaos. They cannot be built in distraction. They are built in quiet moments where the divine molds your spirit with his own hands. Sometimes the courage God gives you is simply the courage to keep going, to face another day, to rise after disappointment, to believe again after heartbreak, to trust again after betrayal, to love again after loss. These acts of courage may seem small, but in God's eyes they are mountains moved, and the early hours become the place where that inner strength grows. No one else may see it, but you feel it. You feel the shift, you feel the strengthening, you feel the quiet power entering your bones. And then there are mornings when God strengthens your purpose by awakening your gifts. You may feel drawn to write, to speak, to create, to plan, to reach out, to begin something new. Your gifts are connected to your calling, and they often awaken in silence because that is where you are most connected to your true self. In those hours, your creativity flourishes, your intuition sharpens, your ideas deepen. These are not random sparks of inspiration. They are reminders of what you carry. They are reminders of the light you were meant to bring into this world. Through all of this, the early hours become a spiritual workshop, a place where God repairs what is broken, strengthens what is weak, reveals what is hidden, and clarifies what is confused. He works on your heart, your mind, your spirit, your direction. He refines you. He prepares you. He equips you. And when the sun finally rises, you carry a strength that others cannot explain. They see your peace, your clarity, your courage, your purpose, but they do not know it was shaped in the secret, quiet hours while the world slept. Your awakening is an invitation to rise into your true path. When you find yourself stirring between the hours of 3 and 5 a.m., when your eyes open without an alarm and your spirit feels gently pulled awake, understand that something sacred is calling you. It is not just the body shifting in sleep. It is not simply the mind wandering without direction. It is a summons, a spiritual tapping on the door of your soul, asking you to pay attention. These early hours carry a quiet truth. Your life is ready to move. Your purpose is ready to breathe, and you are being invited to step into the path that has been waiting for you. The world may still be wrapped in darkness, the streets silent, the air still, but your inner world is stirring with light. This light does not come from the sun. It comes from within. It comes from the part of you that knows you are meant for more. The part of you that feels the shift before it is visible. The part of you that has sensed a change coming long before it arrives. This awakening is not accidental. It is intentional, deliberate, divinely aligned. In the quiet hours, God whispers the truths you are finally strong enough to hear. Your true path is not something you must chase. It is something you must recognize, and recognition often comes in silence, in stillness, in the moments when the noise of life is unable to distract you. You may have felt lost, unsure, confused, or uncertain. You may have questioned your direction, your dreams, your worth, or your purpose. But the awakening at dawn serves as a reminder that the path is still there, waiting patiently for you. The divine does not rush you. He invites you. He calls you gently, consistently, until you are ready to take the next step. There are seasons in life when your true path becomes dim. Responsibilities pile up like heavy stones. Heartbreak steals your clarity. Fear quiets your courage. Doubt weakens your faith. And you begin to settle for what is safe instead of what is meant for you. But God does not forget the destiny He placed in your spirit. He does not abandon the blueprint He wrote upon your soul. When you stray, He calls you back. And sometimes He calls you at dawn, when your heart is open and your defenses are resting. The early waking is a doorway, one that only opens when your spirit is ready to receive. In these hours, you may feel a pull towards something you can't name, a sense that something in your life is shifting, a desire for change, a longing for peace, a yearning for meaning. These feelings are not random. They are spiritual signals guiding you toward the path that aligns with who you truly are, not who the world told you to be. You may notice thoughts in these hours that do not visit you at other times, thoughts that ask deeper questions, thoughts that lift you out of survival mode and into reflection, thoughts that remind you of dreams you buried because life grew heavy, thoughts that whisper of a higher calling, a greater purpose, a deeper truth. These thoughts are invitations. They are gentle nudges from the divine, asking you to reconsider the direction of your life, to look beyond what is comfortable and reach for what is meaningful. Your true path often begins with honesty with yourself. It requires acknowledging what is no longer working, what no longer aligns with your spirit, what no longer brings peace. And these truths reveal themselves clearer at dawn. The quiet helps you see without emotional fog, without societal pressure, without the voices of others influencing your choices. The early hours strip life down to its essence. They show you what matters, what doesn't, and what must change. Sometimes the invitation to rise comes in the form of discomfort. You may feel restless, uneasy, unsatisfied, like something in your life is too small for the person you are becoming. This discomfort is not punishment, it is guidance. It is God stretching you, expanding you, preparing you for the next chapter. Growth rarely feels comfortable. Becoming your true self requires shedding old layers, old beliefs, old fears, and old patterns. The awakening is simply a signal that you are ready for this transformation, even if you don't feel ready yet. Your true path is connected to your gifts, the ones you were born with, the ones that flow naturally, the ones that feel like breathing. These gifts may have been ignored, doubted, dismissed, or undervalued in the past. But dawn awakens them. It reminds you of what you carry inside you: creativity, compassion, leadership, insight, intuition, resilience, wisdom. These are not accidental traits. They are tools for the assignment God placed within you. When you wake early, you may feel drawn to create, write, pray, think, reflect, or imagine. These impulses are spiritual cues pointing toward your authentic path. The early hours also awaken your sensitivity to truth. You begin to sense what aligns with your spirit and what doesn't, who nourishes your soul and who drains it, what environments feel heavy and what spaces ignite your peace, what choices strengthen your growth and what choices dim your light. This sensitivity is not weakness. It is divine awareness. It is spiritual intuition sharpening so that you can discern the path that belongs to you from the one that belongs to someone else. Your true path also requires courage. courage to step into the unknown, courage to break cycles that have held you for years, courage to release what is familiar but damaging, courage to trust what you cannot yet see, courage to become someone the old version of you would not recognize. And God knows that courage grows best in silence. He wakes you early so that he can strengthen your resolve before the world has a chance to weaken it. In the stillness, he pours boldness into your bones, strength into your spine, faith into your spirit. Sometimes the invitation to rise feels like a memory of who you used to be before life dimmed your inner fire. You may recall a version of yourself that was braver, more hopeful, more creative, more alive. Dawn brings that version back to you, not to make you mourn what you lost, but to remind you of what you can reclaim. You are not being called to return to your old self. You are being called to evolve into your highest self, the one that your spirit recognizes even before your mind does. Your true path will always guide you toward alignment with your values, your faith, your intuition, your gifts, and your soul. The early waking is a spiritual alignment check. It shows you where you are settled too low, where you have accepted too little, where you have dimmed your light to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. It is a call to rise higher, to expand, to step into the fullness of your identity. You may experience waves of emotion during this time: tenderness, introspection, realization, relief. This emotional stirring is part of your spiritual awakening. It is your soul speaking. It is your heart releasing old pain so that new wisdom can take root. It is your inner world unclogging itself so that your outer world can shift. You are not waking early by error. You are waking early because your healing is unfolding. Your true path often begins with small shifts: a new thought, a new awareness, a new inner strength, a new belief in yourself. These shifts may feel subtle, but they carry immense power. A single moment of clarity can redirect an entire life. A single realization can break a lifelong pattern. A single spiritual nudge can open a door you didn't know existed. The divine does not require dramatic events to change your life. Sometimes all he needs is one quiet moment at dawn. The early hours also act as a spiritual mirror, showing you the distance between the life you are living and the life you are meant for. This reflection is not meant to bring shame. It is meant to bring direction. It allows you to see where adjustments must be made. It allows you to see where alignment is needed. It allows you to see where your growth is calling. And once you see, you cannot unsee. The invitation has been given. This awakening calls you out of survival mode. Survival mode keeps your head down. Purpose lifts your head up. Survival narrows your vision. Purpose widens it. Survival keeps you focused on getting through. Purpose shifts you into rising into. When you wake early, it is a sign that you are no longer meant to merely survive. There is a higher calling waiting to unfold. Your awakening is also a sign that your spirit is evolving faster than your circumstances. You may feel a mismatch between what you feel inside and what your life currently looks like. This mismatch is a spiritual indicator. You are growing. You are outgrowing environments, relationships, habits, and identities that no longer fit your expanded soul. The awakening nudges you to adjust your life so it reflects the person you are becoming, not the person you were in these hours. God whispers direction, not always in words, but in impressions, insights, urges, dreams, ideas, and inner movements. You may feel compelled to start something new or end something old. You may feel drawn toward peace and away from chaos. You may feel a renewed desire to take care of your mind, body, and spirit. These are divine instructions. They guide you toward your true path, step by step. Your awakening is sacred because it honors the part of you that is tired of pretending, the part of you that knows there is more, the part of you that refuses to shrink, the part of you that is ready to live with authenticity, depth, and purpose. When you wake early, you wake into truth, and truth is the beginning of transformation.